Hey, you want to stop using your rabbi or your cantor's laptop as your streaming computer? Or if you're a rabbi or a cantor, you want them to stop using your computer? That's what we're going to talk about today. What's the right computer to get? So I submitted one of my videos for a ruthless review, and I got some really good feedback. And so you'll probably see a few changes today and maybe a few changes in the weeks to come. The first is get rid of that long intro video. So I did. All right, my friends, we are going to talk today about what it means to have, wait a second, go away. All right, what we should be looking for when you're getting a streaming computer for your sanctuary or for your library or for your classroom. Now, I want to be clear that I am not a pro. I'm not a computer pro, right? I'm not an expert on processors and all that other good stuff. There are much smarter people out there on the interwebs that do that kind of thing. But I do want to share with you 3 considerations that I think you might want to bear in mind. And so I'm calling these the 3 Ps, all right? The first one is platform. What do I mean by platform? There are a couple of things that I mean by platform. The first is, what is the platform, whether that's Windows or Mac, that you're most comfortable on, or whoever's going to be running this? What is the platform that you are most familiar with, that you feel most comfortable with? A second consideration is, what is the platform that has the software that you're going to be using to get your stream out? So if you're using vMix, for example, that's PC only. If you're using Ecamm, that's Mac only. If you're using OBS, that could go either way, although it works better on a PC. So if you're using one of those pieces of software, it's important to think about that when you're deciding what is going to be the right platform for you to get. Once you've decided on that, a couple other notes I just want to share with you. The first is that if you're going Apple, if you're going Macintosh, do not buy an Intel Macintosh. You can get them on the cheap now. It's not worth your money. It genuinely isn't worth your money. Spend the extra $200, whatever it is. Get the cheapest M1. If that's all you can afford, get the cheapest M1 that you can get. We're going to talk about a couple of different options in a moment. M1 is the Apple processor. It's their own chip that they've designed. They started using it, I think it was 2 years ago. They've now filled the entire line of all their computers with the M1. They just came out with the M2 for the Mac, what's it called? The MacBook Air. We'll talk about that in a moment. But if you're buying Apple, you definitely want to get an M1 version. If you're buying a PC, you want to get something that has a processor that's at least an i5. Streaming out takes a lot of power. Takes a lot of energy. If you get an i3 or even something smaller than that, something that isn't an Intel processor, you may end up regretting it. So I would suggest an i5 computer. I don't think you need i7 or i9. And in fact, I was just hearing yesterday a couple horror stories about how those computers, they're overheating and things like that. But i5, that's the way to go, I think. All right, second thing to consider, ports. Some computers, on the PC side, this is less of an issue. On the Mac side, it's a real issue. But you need to make sure that your computer, whatever streaming computer you're using, has the right ports and enough of them. Number one, make sure it has an Ethernet port. If it doesn't have an Ethernet port, you may need to get an adapter, a USB-C to Ethernet adapter, or whatever the inputs are on your particular computer. You'll probably need an HDMI input or output, or a display port to get the image out to a screen. You will need USB inputs and outputs. So bear in mind, what are the different ports that you're going to need? One of the ways that you can ensure that you have all the ports that you need is to get an add-on, a dock. Like this one, this is the OWC dock. And when you're looking at docks, you want to make sure that you're getting a powered dock. You don't want to just get a dongle that you plug in and then you plug a bunch of garbage into it, because it's not powered. It's not going to give the power to the USB devices that they need. Make sure you get a powered dock like this one, which is the OWC. There are lots of other ones. I have them on my website if you're interested. Okay, so we've got platform, ports, and the next thing is portability. Now, I started this by saying we need to stop using the cantor of the rabbi's laptops. I think best practice is to have a dedicated computer that sits on the desk or in the sanctuary or in the library or in the closet or wherever it is, and it stays there. And it's dedicated just for this work. So I'm not sure that portability is all that important. In fact, if you don't have to move this computer around, I would strongly recommend that you just look at a Mac Mini. You can get a really solid Mac Mini, M1 Mac Mini for, what is it, $700? With 8 gigs of RAM, it'll do pretty much everything you need to do. If you're streaming, if you're doing, 4K, 8K video editing, then that's a different story. But if you're just streaming out your services, your classes, your teachings, whatever it is, this will do it just fine. If you're looking to step that up a little bit, and again, for portability, this is kind of a stationary device, you can look at the Mac Studio. Now, the nice thing about the Mac Studio, other than the fact that it has more power than any of us could ever need, is that it's got all the ports on the back. It's got lots and lots of ports. It's got Ethernet, it's got HDMI, it's got USB, it's got all the places to plug the things in, so you really probably won't need this OWC or some other kind of power dock along with it. If you do need portability, if you're looking for a device that you can use as your streaming device, but you also want to have it portable, I want to give you a caution. Apple just came out with a new Mac, what are they called? MacBook Airs. They're sleek. They have the M2, the newest chip, right? They look fantastic. I want to warn you against getting one of those, and there's really only one reason. They're just as powerful. They're just as wonderful. They don't have a fan. And because what you're doing when you're streaming something out to the interwebs is so CPU intensive, because it's using so much energy, so much power, you need a fan to kick in. At least you want to have a fan. Even if it doesn't kick in, you want to know that you have a fan so that your computer doesn't overheat, so you don't start getting stutters, it doesn't stall, all that other good stuff. So the MacBook Air is a wonderful machine. I would not recommend it for streaming. I'd grab a MacBook Pro. They just came out with a new 13-inch MacBook Pro, which also has the M2, or you can get the 14 or 16-inch MacBook Pros as well. They all have the M chips, either M1 or M2 in them. On the PC side, again, make sure you're getting a device that has an i5 or higher Intel processor, and make sure you're looking at those ports. And if you're getting something that you do need to be portable, make sure it is something that has a fan inside of it. So platform, ports, portability, those are 3 of the things that I would strongly recommend that you consider when you're thinking about what's the right computer for us to use for our streaming of services, of classes, of whatever it is. And I really do want to encourage you not to use the Rabbi or the Cantor's laptop. They have a lot of stuff on there. They have it set up, I'm sure, to download their calendars or back up their photos or back up their Google Drive, whatever. And every time those things happen in the background, that affects the bandwidth that you need to get a good, solid stream out to your congregants and to your students. So having a device that's dedicated, that has the power that you need, it has the ports that you need, and it has the portability, if that's important for you, that you need, and it's the right platform, that will be your best bet. Don't put any other stuff on it. Don't start installing Chrome. That hogs your CPU. Don't start installing Dropbox. Just let it do its job of running whatever streaming software, Zoom, YouTube, whatever it is that you're using. Let that computer do that job, and you will be set. Hey, you know what I forgot to say? I share great tech for great Torah. I got thrown because I have the shorter intro now. Sorry about that. But speaking of great tech for great Torah, if you're interested in learning more about the docks, the power docks that I use, or the computers, the microphones, or things like that, head on over to TorahTechGuide.com. Check it out over there. And by all means, while you're there, if you're interested, join me on ReachMoreTeachMore.com, where I'm sharing special content. And most importantly, I'm giving you the time. I'm working with you to help you reach more people and teach more great Torah, whatever your Torah is. That's what I'm looking forward to teaching you and helping you teach. All right, my friends, I don't feel well, so I'm going to go rest. But I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day. I'll see you next time on Torah Tech Tips. Let's go get a computer.